So one thing you may notice is that if you have trouble with anxiety and performance anxiety, and maybe you get really nervous before going into a meeting or a presentation, then if you ask for advice or if you look for advice online, what you're going to find is no shortage of different sort of grounding techniques, things like circular breathing or little quick affirmations or power poses, even tapping, right? And so one of the things that I want to address is that, or at least communicate with you, is that those things are all good. They're all fine and good. In fact, I used tapping for years, but in a different way. And I'll get into detail a little bit on that. So the challenge with a lot of these grounding techniques is that they really focus on the surface level symptom. What's the surface level symptom? Well, you're anxious. You've got a lot of anxious thinking. It's creating anxious feelings in your body. Really, those things happen simultaneously. It's one system working exactly the way it's designed to work. And so these things can help because they'll take you sort of away from your immediate circumstance. So if I'm feeling very anxious and I'm getting overwhelmed and I start doing breathing, it'll sort of get me out of that state, hopefully. Affirmations, I find in these circumstances rarely work, but they work the same way in that they sort of, if they work, they get you out of your head a little bit and step back into the moment. Now, tapping can be the same way if it's used on this sort of surface level way. It's really a way to distract yourself from the thoughts that are in your immediate awareness, even if you're not really sure what those thoughts are, and oftentimes we're not because we think them so often that they become habitual. And of course, the definition of a habit, my definition, is you do something again and again and again until it becomes unconscious. And so you have unconscious thoughts that are creating these moments of anxiety. Now, if they're unconscious, what does that say about working on the surface level, working on the symptom? You see, I believe that that's like a Band-Aid. And so while it's fine and good to put a Band-Aid on the surface level symptom, what we eventually want to do is step back and look at what is the underlying cause? What's the root cause? What are the unconscious or subconscious thoughts, feelings, ideas, behaviors, beliefs that are creating this anxiety? Specifically in this case, in before going into a meeting or in front of an authority figure like a boss or manager. And so one of the things that I like to do with my clients is really take them to a place where they can unravel whatever it is that's creating this anxiety in these circumstances. And everybody can have anxiety in different places. Now, of course, performance anxiety is very common. Fear of authority is very common, so you're not alone. The challenge is, rather than working on the surface level, we want to go deep and understand what's the root cause? What's really at play here? And understanding that because we've rehearsed these things so many times, by the time you get to the point where something triggers you and you have an automatic response, it's just a lot of rehearsed behavior, a lot of conditioned behavior and resulting feelings. And it's important to know that this is your unconscious mind's innocent way of trying to protect you. It thinks that standing up in front of a room is dangerous, giving a presentation is dangerous, either physically or emotionally. And so it will set up these nervous system triggers to protect you from that. But of course, in reality, we see people doing these things all the time. We see people standing up and speaking in front of large groups. We see people performing on stages. We see people giving speeches and speaking up in meetings, and we think, why can't I do that? And I'm here to tell you that it's really just something that needs to be untied. And what that is specifically for you, I don't know, but I make it my passion to really sit with a client and help them discover that for themselves so that they can then unwind it. Once you get to that place and that realization and that insight, you allow your nervous system to process those emotions that have been sort of stuck inside for so long. And once you're able to process that emotion, your nervous system catches up to reality. And once it catches up to reality, you have a new headspace. You have a new conduit to your natural capacity to speak in front of people. Now, you've been speaking your entire life, whether you speak to a friend or you speak in front of a group. There's really no difference. In fact, one of the things that I like to do is when I'm speaking in front of a group is really see that group as one person and really just take the energy from that group and really try to speak to it. Now, when I had performance anxiety, that was near impossible. My focus wasn't on the group. Where was it? Well, it was up in my head. It was focused on all the anxious thinking and all the thoughts and what am I doing here? Oh my gosh, my heart is pounding. They're going to see that my heart's pounding. What if they don't think I know what I'm talking about? And on and on and on. And we have these anxious thoughts. And so once again, finding these grounding techniques like tapping, like havening, like EMDR, like breathing exercises, affirmations, all of these things are okay to treat the symptom level, but if you want to really make deep changes, you must go to the unconscious mind. And it is possible for you.